3.1 million views. This video has got that amount of views. We're going to look at it, we're going to understand why, bring in all these elements. We're going to break it down and see why it's got to that point. And at the end of the episode, we're going to give it a rating.
North, up, west, left, east, right, southwest, downy left. How did we end up thinking like this? Welcome to Map Men. We're the men, and here's the map.
Straight away, that was a really solid intro. It's white on black, very contrasty, arrows, brings in voiceover. You're already asking a question with humour. It's fascinating. Fantastic bit of Primal branding. Now, I'm not about idents. There's always an exception. Whenever anything is really amazing, whenever a channel is really amazing, you can sort of do what you want, because you can have, I've seen some channels that have got idents, throughout, and it works for them. So us coaches will always say best practice, but actually when it comes down to it, if it works, it works.
Hello, all maps need a top and a...
Now, straight away, hello, week beginning, but rather than like hello or hi guys or whatever, he just sort of gets into it, and it's sort of part of their personality. So within 15 seconds we're now into the core of the video. Also, there has been two lots of Primal branding exercises. The first one is the intro, the ident. Second bit is these two guys sat at a desk with maps behind them. This is what they do for every single episode. And believe me, I watched all of their episodes because I absolutely love these guys. They're amazing. And they always sit this way, and to deck, they always sit in the way they do. So it goes to show that the Primal branding work is strong here.
A top and a bottom. Although it's theoretically possible to have a map where words are written in multiple directions, maps that tried this fell out of favour very quickly because they were horrible to use.
Nice bit of humour, nice bit of sound effects there. There was clearly some footage which they shot with Jay, the guy here, turning the map round, just making it be interesting.
Luckily, almost all maps today orientate the world the exact same way, with north at the top. Examples include OS Maps, Google Maps, and this map of all the motorways in Rutland.
All the motorways in Rutland. Have you noticed the tone and the delivery of it is very, very quick and very dry? It really does appeal to the UK sense of humour.
North as up is such an ingrained idea that not even J.R.R. Tolkien, creator of Hobbits...
They've also framed this very cleverly. They know it's highly scripted, this, so you can tell that they have made sure the camera is slightly offset from centre, so they've got a space to fill in that corner there. Look at my monitor. That corner there is full, where they can put in additional things just to keep the screen alive, keep the screen popping, and to make it interesting.
Hobbits and Balrogs could imagine an alternative orientation for Middle-earth. So how did it end up being north? I like the
sound effect. Is that a tin roof? Just boom, rather than like a stamp, boom, which you'd think. It's like a tin, which is always useful.
And has it always been this way? We're about to tell you, and no.
I'm pretty sure. I can't see how it wouldn't be an auto cue system here. The way they're delivering these dry lines and they're just getting everything done. In fact, I think I know there's an auto cue. I think there's a video they did behind the scenes where you could see it all and what they were doing, or they were trying to read the script very quickly. So again, not something which I would recommend to do, but if it works, it works. And if your content is that strong and you make your content that strong, which is really important, you can do anything. And YouTube will allow it, and your audience will enjoy it.
It turns out the majority of ancient cultures had a 90-degree different view of the world from the one we have today. On their maps, the direction most often facing top was east.
Now, that was interesting. That was the longest piece to camera yet. Is 9 seconds. Actually, no, 8 seconds. That's the longest piece to camera we've had yet. But we've learnt so much information, and we're less than a minute in.
The reason for this is down to our hot friend, the sun. The sun rose in the east, and because people liked the sun and were happy when it appeared, east became the most important direction.
Yeah. So very basic graphics, very much on purpose. These guys haven't got the budget to do this, clearly. If you look at what they do to integrate humour into this, and that's the ongoing thing, it's entertainment. And because these guys are comedians, they're going to hit that ground running. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. That's a relief.
Incidentally, orientated means east at the top, hence Orient.
I love these little factoid things they do. Like that video where they've actually cut away to another one of their videos, which is a slightly older video. And why have they done that? Because it makes it interesting. You think, oh, okay. And also it makes it interesting, like the frame has moved on again. And also they've come back to, they're showing you that there is other really good bits of information in their other videos that they've already published.
To give you an idea of just how North hating...
Again, look, you just don't expect this stuff. There's a bit of a fact, and then there's humour. An outfit from Amazon, probably 10 quid, compost, and the gravestone is clearly a graphic that's gone in, what we call an alpha asset, that's gone in over the top. If you didn't know, you'd think, oh, that is actually real. Also, the camera here is really rubbish, but it doesn't matter. It's part of their thing. It's authentic. If they had like cinema cameras and things like this, which I'm sure they could afford, there's just that it would take away a bit of it. It would take a bit away of their message, their authenticity, etc., etc. So, yeah, there's a reason this is probably filmed on a handycam.
Excuse me, I did request to be buried next to my dead wife.
In other parts of the world, we get clues that east was on top, even though no maps survive to prove it. In India, the Sanskrit word dakshina means both south as well as to the right. And if south was to the right, then east must have been at the top.
And west must have been on the bottom.
Yes.
And north must have been
I think we get it.
But the most famous early...
Bickering is really a very important thing to do with these things, especially if it's this is why podcasts work, right? If you've got chemistry with your podcast co-host, it can really work. It's the same here. You know, if you've got something where you're sort of really overemphasizing the point, you can really bicker about it with somebody else who's with you, they get it, all that sort of stuff. It does add to the element of viewability.
The ancient Egyptians put south at the top of their maps for the simple reason that because the Nile flowed downhill, its source must surely be at the top.
Makes sense. It also explains why it's called Lower Egypt, despite being further north.
See, so many amazing facts they drop here, which I certainly never knew when I first watched this, but I'm pretty certain a lot of you wouldn't know this either, so it's actually genuinely interesting.
South at the top soon became an Arab map-making calling card, as shown on the famous world map made by Muslim scholar Al-Idrisi for King Roger II of Sicily, called Tabula Rogeriana.
I love that, even the text is upside down because they flipped the map. It's brilliant.
Map.
Which featured in the seminal book Kitab Rujar.
Roger's book.
Now, if you look at this punch in, that is really, it's uncomfortable to look at and massively pixelated because they haven't zoomed in, they have punched in to the video file. So, yeah.
In the 1400s, wealthy Europe...
I would figure that they've got an auto cue with a foot pedal. I've got one of them. They're great. So you have an auto cue straight on the camera and you've got a foot pedal underneath. So you're not going like... They've got something underneath their desk so they can just press it without anybody even barely noticing.
1400s, wealthy European nations literally started to push the boat out in search of exciting things to steal, like gold and potatoes.
Again, this could have been a boring image of this frame, but they've added some humour to it in order to make it engaging. Because otherwise that shot would have been, how many seconds would that shot would have been? 7 seconds. But they put just a bit of humour in there just to make sure that you stay on.
In order to do this successfully, navigation needed to get better, and that meant the very frequent use of the compass.
By harnessing the Earth's natural magnetic field, compasses were a superbly useful way of letting sailors know where they were going.
Now these are all very basic things, but the delivery of them, I mean, but obviously this isn't just thought about in post, it's made for post-production, it's made for the edit. So I can only assume he's either lying down there or he's up against a wall, and so that they can sort of pivot him, mask him out and pivot him round to make him look like a point of a compass. Again, the delivery is just so engaging. It's
It's
fascinating.
a
how they do
superbly
this.
useful way of letting sailors know where they were going.
The original inventors of the compass, the Chinese, decided that this thing pointed south, which in fairness half of it did. That explains why the Chinese word for compass was
指南针.
Yeah. I mean, the aesthetic of him bringing out...
That explains why the Chinese word for compass was
指南针.
What is that? A dictaphone or something? A really old-fashioned dictaphone. It's not like a digital thing. It's an old-fashioned VHS tape. Not VHS, what I'm talking about. Just analog tape. And just have... Whether that's actually literally saying that, it doesn't matter. The joke lands. Whether that is actually on there, it wouldn't surprise me. These guys are very authentic, so it wouldn't surprise me if that actually was in there.
which translates to pointing south needle.
But Western explorers saw things differently. In Europe, there was already a long
Okay, watch this now. I can guarantee there'll be something to make it funny.
tradition of navigating by the North Star, giving European navigators an astrological
you
northern
go.
bias.
And if you look, it's the camel thinking it, not the person.
So, when they got their hands on the Chinese pointing technology, they used it to do what they'd always done, and find north first.
If you've ever used a compass on a Year 5 geography trip where you got lost in the woods and wet yourself in front of Mr. Dugdale, you'll understand.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's clearly so honest, and it's almost like he's confessing here, Mr. Dugdale.
You'll understand how north being at the top of your map makes it easier to turn and face where your compass is pointing.
This navigational edge allowed Europeans to
Here we go, graphic. Watch this. I guarantee there'll be something fun. This is quite a funny image, just with the image shown with the Atlantic Ocean with the ship. But let's see if there what else they add to it.
spread themselves and their
There you go.
ideas, including North is Up, all over the world. And after centuries of standardisation, North is Up became stuck in the maps and the minds of people all over the planet.
Yeah. See, there's a payoff. That graphic, there's a payoff at the end of it, which is, you look at that first image, you think, no, that's not quite right. You should think that it's just a discovery issue or something, but actually then you look at it and it comes right in the end.
So now, north is literally always up all the time on every map ever with no exceptions.
Except these ones coming after the break.
A bog standard piece to camera, but there's never a bog standard piece to camera. They always do something to make it interesting. This is basically their South Park moment here. have
Hello
an
and
advert.
welcome to Good Grief. Now, Cyril, is it true you haven't seen your
This is called a pattern interrupt. It's actually for their adverts. So this is how they fund their thing. So we can't take it away from them too much. But let's play this. But if you look here, you can see the peaks and troughs of it. So I can imagine this would be the advert. It is. This whole section is an advert. And then we come back in. See, now look. But look where they placed that. Right in the middle of the timeline. Right in the middle. Not right at the beginning. Not at the end. Not shoehorned in. It's built in to the... it's a very long advert, actually. But look how interesting it is. Visually, look how interesting it is. And how much effort they've put into this in order to get a sponsor. You know, sometimes we've got to do this stuff, guys. If we want to actually make our channels, we have to be paid for it.
Exceptions to North.
Back into the channel.
Some cities arranged in a grid form are frequently shown on maps with north on the one to suit the folded paper it's on and allow for better legibility. We found on maps of Melbourne, Mexico City and Milton Keynes.
The increasing prevalence of Wayfinder or You Are Here
Change their setup again. They've gone out somewhere to keep that visually interesting hook.
or You Are Here maps in cities is popularising this easy to navigate kind of map, where up is the direction you're facing and not necessarily north.
Which is a pity for those of us who were taught to always find north first, like this.
See, there's always going to be something interesting. And then they're in a car, which is just clearly not a real thing.
Modern digital maps can be rotated to face whichever way is most convenient or safe for the user, resulting in a generation of whippersnappers who bizarrely are very familiar with their local area, but entirely unfamiliar with which way is north.
It sort of makes me a bit uncomfortable that he is driving, but he's just not looking.
But all these exceptions
I love the cutout here. It's so badly done. Well, it's not badly done. It's just not great.
options only do a great job of proving the rule, as maps that are even slightly wonky just look disconcertingly unfamiliar and wrong. Oh. But
Even at the end of that piece of camera, which could be perceived as a bit boring, there was something there to add humour. That is a pattern trap. But
Does it matter that North won the day? After all, something has to go at the top. Why shouldn't it be North?
The thing is, it does matter. It affects not just the way you view the map, but the way you view the world.
First of all, top to bottom is how we read things and naturally take information in. Whether it's a map or an album cover or a supermarket shelf, your eyes start at the top and then scan down. And this is well known and exploited by designers of all kinds.
Second, and more importantly of all, psychologists have proven that we associate things that are higher up with positivity.
hi.
interesting. Nice little bit of factual knowledge there.
Top of the morning. Are you feeling tip-top? On top of the world. Did you watch Top of the Pubs? I watched it on my laptop. That one doesn't work. Oh.
So if all maps have North
Oh, these guys are so funny. Again, really dry sense of humour, and you almost have to like double take that you've heard it right. And just the very binary reactions is so important.
If all maps have North as up, we accidentally give places in the North a sense of importance and goodness.
While places in the south might be viewed with a form of second bestness. This applies not just to maps of the world, where Africa and South America are buried at the bottom of the page, and your thoughts, but to maps of London, which, for a chippy South London dweller like me, immediately explains the unbearable snobbery of North London dwellers like Jay.
You don't have the tune.
It's because of the rock type.
Again, the bickering and the justification as to why they live where they live.
Thankfully, the overwhelming prevalence of North at the top maps has irritated some people enough to inspire them to create some different maps that turn our worldview upside down. In 1979, Australian Stuart MacArthur published MacArthur's Universal Corrective Map of the World.
There's a bit less humour, I'd say, but this is showing more facts and more data points here. And genuinely flipping your mind, because this is what's, who's seen these maps before, upside down. So it's genuinely intriguing why we're seeing this and who knew this existed.
And for maximum mind mashing, he made all his maps upside down.
On the Apollo 17 mission, one of Gene Cernan, Ronald Evans or Harrison Schmitt took a stunning snap of the Earth viewed from space, and when he finally got back in signal range, sent it back to his pals at NASA for them to share with the world. Wow.
The now famous photo, titled Blue Marble, appeared to show planet Earth the wrong way up, with Antarctica on top.
But of course, this photo made us see the world as it actually was, a tiny ball floating in space. Suddenly, the whole idea of a top and bottom began to unravel, and there was chaos in the streets.
There's a really interesting technique here. It's called the contrast edit, where you basically say there's going to be chaos and lunacy and everything else, and then you show something completely different.
Sadly, by far the most frequently distributed version of the Blue Marble photo has been cropped and rotated with North boringly at the top, demonstrating just how fixated on North's upness we all remain.
Let's face it, with no gravity, there's actually nothing to anchor us in the infinite expanse of space.
I mean,
anywhere can be up,
And anywhere can be down.
I just love the fact they're so literal with it. But this is all scripted. This is not an accident. He's not in that chair. This segment is filmed with him on a green screen, so they can cut him out.
With no gravity, there's actually nothing to anchor us in the infinite expanse of space. Anywhere can be up,
And anywhere can be down.
Do you know the only thing I would say? It's a bit hard to see. Like, I put them both at the same eye level, just because it makes it a bit easier to see. But maybe it's meant to be like that, so it's more jarring. But do you know what? It makes me, again, it's like a pattern interrupt. You're used to seeing those two side by side, sat down normally, and then this comes in, and it just makes the frame very intriguing.
It's a shame that we've got into the habit of always looking at the world the same way. Looking at a so-called wrong way up map can make you see things.
I love the fact that you can see Jay's head here, and he's cut out quite badly. Like, there's a feather mask on it and everything else like this, but it doesn't matter.
Things you've been trained all your life not to notice, and expand your mind.
because when you look at the world from a different angle, you invite new perspectives.
You've been watching Map Men, and for now, North is up.
Changing with their Primal branding and flipping it. This is the whole point of the video. But as you say, when you get to a certain point, you can sort of do what you want with YouTube because your audience is there and your content is so rich. And my God, the content is rich with these guys.
Oh, North is up.
yeah, it was important for you to see all that. They've also got a merch store at the end, so they're making money, which is important. It means we can see more of this. What an absolutely brilliant show. Gosh, I love these guys. The best bit about them is their humour, their scripting, their tone is amazing. The Primal branding is absolutely on point. The engagement with these videos must be absolutely sky high. YouTube will absolutely love them. Downsides? Well, they're not that consistent with their uploads. They've had their moments, but they've never been massively consistent. Their advert in the middle is too long.
Yes, it's true.
It's funny, it is brilliantly done, but it's too long. So I would be intrigued to see the engagement figures there, but I can only assume they're really, really low. At the end, they have the merch store and their Patreon list. Brilliant. I think that's great to show this is how you can support them without overtly saying this is how you can support them. But again, maybe it's too long, and I imagine the drop-off must be quite significant with their retention graphs. But with all that in mind, I'm going to give them an A- because these guys are utterly unique and exceptionally British, which is a very dry thing coming from a Brit.
It's my show.
Well, he's my father. No, you're my father. Good grief.
Now, if you like that video, what I would suggest is to watch this video next, because you'll probably like it.